Johnny's got a secret that he wants to share. Cleaning up your comics with the utmost care. Press it real smooth, make the covers pop. Take that grade higher, straight to the top. At Johnny's Comic Stuff, where the magic starts. Bring your books to life, give them brighter hearts. Clean, press, submit, watch the value rise. Turn that hidden gem into a certified prize. Dust and dirt gone like they weren't there. Wrinkles flattened out like they disappeared. From golden to modern, every age and line. Johnny's got the touch, making treasures shine. At Johnny's Comic Stuff, where the magic starts. Bring your books to life, give them brighter hearts. Clean, press, submit, watch the value rise. Turn that hidden gem into a certified prize. CGC's in sight, now dreams come true. Slabs and grades, new life for you. Color pops, pages glow. Johnny knows comics, that's how it goes. At Johnny's Comic Stuff, where the magic starts. Bring your books to life, give them brighter hearts. Clean, press, submit, watch the value rise. Turn that hidden gem into a certified prize.
Hey guys, welcome to the cleaning show. We're going to do something a little bit different this time. So I'm going to go through a couple books that I have that I'm thinking about cleaning and determine kind of whether or not I think they're worth cracking and pressing and cleaning. I'll kind of show you how to go through CGC's website. You can verify, get the notes, the grader's notes, because that's always important when you're going to clean a book. It may have something that you're not aware of, like it could say torn pages inside or marker on page 3, something like that. There could be stains that are undetectable. It helps you point you to the right direction and determine whether or not you're going to clean it. So yeah, we're going to go through that. The first book I'm going to show you guys, this is one that actually got sent to me to clean for a friend. And let me switch my camera around here. So this was sent to me by Rich at Big Nasty Comics, and it's a Conan the Barbarian #1. It's a 6.5. It's one of those books. It's a tough one, man. It's right on the cusp of what I think it can get a bump or not. Just at a glance, I can see along the edge here. You can see there's some scuffing in the blue. There's a crunch in this corner. There's some white showing there. This corner is the same way. There's some wear on that corner that I can't press out that wear. There's not much I can do. The other thing I noticed right away is it's got a fairly new cert number. It's a 440 cert number. So it has been done pretty recently. So that's a big tell that a lot of newer books, usually people press and clean them before they submit it. But when I look at the back, I do see some stuff that I could work with. So there's a tanning right there. You see that with a hop treatment, just water hop. You can get that minimally to blend in rather than have that hard line. It looks like there may be a subscription crease. There's a little, it's hard to see, but you can see a little a little dirt spot right there. Usually that's from a subscription crease. But what really stands out that's pressable is right here. There's two big dents right there that definitely will press out. And then the bottom, you see all those ripples? Those will definitely come out as well. So it's a tough one. Like I said, it's for a friend, so I don't want to hurt the book and make it less. When I look at the notes on this book, it's not it talks about corner crunch and a few other things. And I don't see the corner crunch they're talking about. A lot of times too, when you take a book out, you can see a lot more stuff that you can't see through the case. I can see when I hold on a perfect angle, there's some dents and dings right there. So, like I said, this one's borderline. It's right on the cusp. I think worst case, it's not going to get less than a 6.5. It could come back as a 6.5 for sure, but could also come back a 7. So I think I'm probably going to end up cracking this one out. It's definitely, I don't think it's got 7.5 potential, but I do think it's got 7 potential. So I think this is one that I will crack out. I'm not going to do that on stream, just because it's tough, and I don't want to try and keep it on camera and crack it out. On the new cases, it's pretty hard to break these things out. So I think that is one I'm going to press and clean. The next one up we're going to talk about that's a kind of determine if I want to press and clean or not is a Daredevil 7. First red suit. And again, it's going to depend on a few things. So when I look at this right away, the first thing I see, there's a ton of white and wrinkled. It's an older label, like Gen 2, I think they call it, 2700. It was probably graded in like 2018, 2019. There's some heavy spine ticks on it. But what's really bad that I think that some kid did to this is if you look at Daredevil's face and you look at Namor's face, both of them have like a mustache drawn on them in like blue ink. That you can't get that off. That's there forever. So that's a big concern. If I crack it, there's a big dog ear line right here that from a crease that's not coming out. And when I look at it really good, the back doesn't look bad. The staple's pulling out right here pretty good. You can see there's some tears around the staple. It could use a clean. It would look a little better with a clean. There's some creases around this staple that are pressable. But then if I think about what I think it can get, I don't think it can get a 5. I think it's a 4 or 5 book. I honestly think with the ink on it and all these creases, it's probably a 4. It should have been graded a 4. But they gave it a 4.5. So this is a book. I'm not going to risk it on this one. I don't think there's any chance for improvement on this book. So I'm going to leave it as it is and just keep it as a 4.5. It's a key. It's a Daredevil key, fairly good key with the first red suit. He was the yellow and red before, which is a much cooler suit, I must say. But yeah, this book specifically, it's just not worth it. There's not enough potential gain. With the Conan, it's only got a potential 0.5 point grade, but it's going to get cracked out of that case anyways because Rich is going to take it to Heroes Con in Charlotte and have Roy Thomas sign it. So if it's going to get cracked anyways, might as well crack it and make it as good as possible. Depending on what you want to do with your book really determines a lot too. If I just want this to look nicer, it's probably worth cracking and cleaning. I might get a better looking 4.5, but then you have to figure in the cost of grading costs, shipping costs, all that. Is it worth $100, round trip and grading for me to get this looking better and staying a 4.5? Probably not to me. And it's not going to have huge benefits. If it had stains on it that I could get out or something, that's going to be visually a lot more appealing. But this just doesn't have the growth potential. This next one, I've been thinking about this one since I got it. I've looked at this book 100 times, and 100 times I thought, man, should I open that up and press that book? So this is Tales of Teen Titans 44. This is the first appearance of Jericho. Dick Grayson becomes Nightwing. And what I see, it's a 9.6. So, a 9.8 would be much nicer. It's the old slab which I hate the old slabs. I think they look just bad. They're real flimsy. I mean, you can just pull them open. You see that? I can just pull it right open just by putting a little pressure with my fingers. So not as good protection of the book. But what do I see as far as pressable defects? There are a bunch of little tiny ticks on the spine that do not break color. There's maybe 20 of them. They're all little tiny. I'm surprised it didn't get a 9.4 because of just the ticks. But they're all pressable. None of them are breaking color. There's a little tear at this staple. And that's the one thing that I think could hold this back from being a 9.8 is those staple tears there. This one's not bad at all. There's a tiny, tiny tear at the bottom. But if you look at this bottom corner, it's really crisp. There's no bindery tears or anything on the bottom corner. If I look at the top corner, it's got a very light bindery tear. They don't ding you for bindery tears unless they're excessive. This corner is very sharp. You know, the bottom corner is very sharp. And then when I flip it over, again, it's perfect on the back. There's no dirt. Perfectly. It's a little bit out of square, but they don't ding you for out of square. You can see on this edge, it has a little underhang here, a little overhang on this end. You can usually fix that with a press, but I wouldn't probably mess with that too much. So, you know, I think the more I think about this, the more I look at it, I probably am going to pop this out and press it. I don't think it's going to get less than a 9.6. I think depending on how they judge me on these, on this staples tear here, which is very light, but it's got creases off of both of both points of the staple too, which are both pressable. So I can get both those creases out. I just won't be able to get rid of the tear. So I'm probably going to end up pressing this one, cracking it out and pressing it. Again, I'm not going to do it on this one, but like I said, you can see, I mean, I could, well, this side's the easy side. You could just pull it apart. You know, it opens right up with not too much problem. I'm just putting a little bit of finger pressure on it. So I can pop that thing out really easily. So yeah, maybe this will be a book for cleaning next weekend. Maybe we'll go through it. Again, it's not going to need much dry cleaning. There's a tiny, tiny bit of dirt in some of the white, which I'll clean up just to make it, you know, look as nice as possible. You know, a lot of people talk about when they crack a book to press it. Well, you know, the 9.6 to 9.8, the value is only, you know, $60 difference or something like that. But yeah, this book will look a ton better cracked and pressed. Even if it stays a 9.6, it's going to look a lot better. The cases, the newer cases, that they're clear, so you can see a lot better through them. So they just look a lot nicer. So I think I'll probably end up cracking that one out and giving it a press. And hopefully it'll come back in 9.8. You know, time will tell. CGC is going pretty slow right now. So I've got the book here. I've been using this a lot lately. Hey, what's up, Rich? Been using this a lot lately. And, man, I cannot. The techniques in this book are just fantastic. You can quick press with this new technique. You can quick press a modern book and only tie up your press for like 20 or 30 minutes. And it gets rid of them. I mean, it's ridiculous how well this works. So again, I can't stress enough. Get this book. The first one's good. It's a good technique. It definitely works and has some good techniques to go by. But this actually uses less materials, so you're spending less money on materials. The way it has you do it, you can reuse a lot of the materials. And it's so quick. So there's links to this and the old book in the below in the notes. But if you're going to buy one, buy this one. Don't buy the old one. If you've already got the old one, buy this one. It's okay to keep using the old one. But it's just fantastic. I mean, I can't speak to this thing enough. I've used it a lot. It's got just so much information in it too. Every press is like a 3-step process. So you do your first press, which is a 15-minute press, then a 4 to 8 hour press, and then your last press is like an overnight press. And that's kind of the standard for all of them, except for the quick press. Like I said, you can do a quick press in about 30 minutes. So check this out if you're pressing a lot of new books, especially too. I'm not a new book presser. I don't like pressing new books. I like the old ones. But this has been really good for me with new books. I'm working on, you know, I've said it before, I'm working on getting my X-Men's all 200 and above, all at 9.8 or better. And that's helped me with a lot of them already. Like I've pressed a lot of ones that I've had for a while, and it's done good. So first book we're going to clean today. I just got this in. This is Showcase number 73, first appearance of the Creeper. It's not a high grade book. I picked this up super cheap. It's not, it's not actually that bad a shape. It's got some pressable defects that will just, again, make it look more presentable. Probably won't have this book graded. It's not like a huge book or anything, but it will look a lot nicer. And again, a lot of times that's just the goal. Dirt on your skin is bad. Over time, if you don't wash your body, you start getting, rashes and all that stuff. It's the same with a paper in a comic book. You leave that dirt on there, it's going to eventually start affecting the book itself. So why not clean it? Why not make it look presentable, save it, give it as long a life as it can. My plan for most of my comics is for my kids to sell them after I die because they don't like comic books. But I like sitting around and just going through them. And I hate when I pull a book out and I'm like, oh, there's a huge crease right there I can get out, or the corner's all dinged. I can't get rid of any of these spine ticks along the side, but I can make it look a lot nicer. So first thing, always, when you're pressing anything, use gloves. If you have a really, really beat up copy, and I pressed an Amazing Spider-Man 1, and I did not use gloves, specifically because the copy was such a low grade. It was a 1.8. My hands aren't going to make it any worse or dirtier. But with a 1.8 book, what I can do is I can really feel what's going on. This book's probably a 3.5 or a 4 right now, so I'm going to wear gloves so I don't get the oil in it. But if you get a really beat up copy or a brittle Golden Age book, sometimes it's better not to wear gloves. Anything modern, wear gloves because your fingerprints are it's like glue on it. You touch it like that, and there's a fingerprint there forever. So with a modern book, if you're going to clean it and press it, definitely don't ever do it without wearing gloves. Anything after like the 90s. So again, first thing always we're going to go over with our cotton round. And again, when you're doing this, you see my hand here holding this side down. It's important. I have had issues where I'm doing this and not doing that. And I'm just got my hand up here and like put too much pressure on and pushed up and ripped it here. Or the same thing here, caught it on the edge here and flipped the lip back on the cover and did it there. So always just hold it down. It takes no effort. And this book's it doesn't look too dirty, but what I think will happen when we're done with this, I think the yellow is going to pop more here. I think the white's going to look a little whiter because it's going to have all that, 60, 70-year-old dirt off of it. And the back's always the telltale sign on a book. The back is where you see really what kind of stuff it's been going through. So I can see here too, I actually see there's some foreign substance right there and right here. And I'll see if I can get an angle where you can see that. It's right on above the wanted, almost right above the T. There you go. Right above the N. You see that circle there above the N? So I don't know what that is. I'm not going to be able to get that off with this. That may be something that a hop will take care of. Again, I don't really go through that on this just because I think it's a very invasive process, and if you don't study and practice it really well, you can damage a book. And I don't want to show someone on here how to do that, and then they go do it and destroy their books. I think if you're going to do that, buy the book, practice a lot before you get to any books that have any value at all. You can pick up, a lot of action in Charlton and stuff from the 60s that have that newsprinter type paper and practice it. I do like the hop technique. I'm a huge fan of it. I think it's a fantastic process. Not so much the bled. Bled, I think, is people overdo it, and a lot of purple labels out there now because people have bled and used too much light. So sometimes when there's like a foreign material on there too, you can see on the inside, and you can see it looks like it's got some watermarks. You can see them right there and there. So I probably can't do much with that with a bled. It might thin it out and kind of spread out the dot a little bit, but it's not going to have a huge impact. And again, this isn't like a crazy high dollar book, so I probably won't hop it. Just looking at that. I'm not really getting any dirt off with this, which is always good. When you can't get dirt off with this, that means that, there's not a lot of dirt on it. So that's always a positive. So we're going to go through. I'm going to start with the bigger eraser. It's got some dirt on it, so we'll clean that off. And I'm going to work around this here. It's hard really to get it to show in the camera how much little tiny pieces of dirt are on here. Even if I had it zoomed way in right where I'm cleaning, I don't know how well it would show. But you can definitely, like, I can see very clearly there's a lot of dirt right here. And it's gone already. All the dirt that was right here is already just completely gone. And it's just like light surface dirt. So it's not like I have to use almost no pressure. So we'll get out the little micro. Again, I love this thing. This is the greatest cleaning tool I've bought since I started doing this. Just because I can really get in right in here. It feels like holding a pencil, so it's easy to control because everyone uses pencils or pens. You can really just, it's almost like if you were coloring with a colored pencil, just trying to color the white area. And don't go outside the lines and get into where the colors are, because then you'll start rubbing them off. It's a little tedious on a book like this with all these little spaces, but it's worth it. I mean, it looks better. And I'm turning into, I didn't used to be, but I'm turning into like a quality snob. Like, I don't want just want the book. I want a high grade of the book, and I used to not be that way. I used to be like, oh man, if I can get an Incredible Hulk 340 in a like a 5 or 6 grade, that'd be awesome. Now it's like, man, if it ain't above a 9.0, I don't want it. And I mean, but maybe because I've had that book now, and I can, I have a little bit more of a disposable income now as in my late 40s. I have the ability to kind of to be a little more picky, but people say it all the time, and it's real. Is don't buy the grade, buy the book. I've seen books that look horrible, that are a 7.0, and I've seen books that look fantastic that are a 3.0. Because some of the defects you can't see. I don't care. Even the green label. I wish they didn't do a green label for a coupon cutout, because, like, I don't care that a coupon's cut out. It doesn't affect the book at all to me. If I wanted to read it, it's still readable. If I wanted, just to have it as the book, I have it. That's why I would always say, if you want an Incredible Hulk 181 and it's out of your budget, try and get one with the coupon cutout. The Marvel value stamp. It's still Incredible Hulk 181. It's still the first Wolverine. They put those coupons in there, those Marvel value stamps in there for kids to cut out. So, I mean, I don't understand why it's frowned on so much to have, it doesn't have the coupon or the stamp in it. It's like, yeah, but it's still a complete book. You can still read the whole story. Still got all that great art, and it's, the original Wolverine costume. Buy a green copy, get your foot in the door with the green label. And then when you can, you're set up and you can afford the nicer one, get the nicer one, but don't be afraid of a green label. So this sucks because this yellow has a ton of dirt on it, and I can't really do anything about that. I'll go over it lightly here with the cotton round just to see if I can get any up. It doesn't look like it is. Sometimes the absorbing pad will help with spots like that. You just do a light rub and pull. Always pull towards the open side of the book. Don't go that way. You're gonna catch it, and it's gonna do one of these, and you're asking for trouble. Always pull towards the open side of the book. So that actually did take off a good bit of that dirt. So this thing here is probably an undervalued tool too. I need to get a new one. This one's getting towards the end of its life, but it's really an undervalued tool when it comes to cleaning. Just because it picks up a lot of surface stuff that you can't really get with an eraser. I can't go over that yellow with an eraser. This has no texture at all. It's just picking up surface dirt. where this actually grabs and kind of, it's lightly abrasive. It doesn't damage the book at all, but it kind of just pulls, and it almost feels like what an eraser feels like. And you'll get a lot of dirt. If you get one of these brand new and you use it on a dirty book, and you just kind of do this a few times and turn it over, you'll actually see little tiny specks of dirt in it. So it does work, especially on the colored areas, you know. And you could be, especially on a book that, like I said, this book doesn't look great, but it's sturdy. It's in good condition. It's held together well. So I'm not worried about being a little bit aggressive. Again, I've done this a lot of times. I've done this a lot of books. I've done, all the way from books back to the early 40s, late 30s. Don't just go be rough with it the first time you ever clean a book. Take your time, practice. They do the 10,000 hours, put in the time, get good at it before you start really messing with higher end books, and read, study, watch what other people do. The techniques I do work for me. Doesn't mean they're the best techniques. They're just the techniques that work for me. I'm sure other people do it other ways. I'm sure other people will see me do things like, oh, I would never do that. And that's fine. Whatever works for you. I've only a couple times ever gotten purple labels from cleaning a book. And all the times I got them, it was from the bled technique. I've never gotten a purple label from this process I'm doing here. I've never gotten a purple label from the hop technique. So it works for me. Maybe I can get a little bit better results if I did something different, but what I do works. The stuff I can't get rid of, I get rid of the stuff I can't get rid of that. There's no technique out there that will get rid of these big white spine breaks, outside of conservation or restoration. And I don't want to do that. I've watched some, if you guys are familiar with Jerry the Jitterbug, I've watched some of his stuff. I mean, that guy, he's like a scientist. I mean, the stuff he does is just, it's unbelievable. But that's not, like, I can't do those things. That's not my wheelhouse. I'm not someone who can conserve a book. I'm just going to clean it and press it and do the best CPR I can. And the books I'm cleaning, like this isn't a book you would conserve. Conservation is time consuming. It's expensive. It's tedious. You're adding and creating paper to merge with existing paper. I mean, you're only going to do that on mostly golden age stuff and like rare golden age stuff. You're going to conserve an Action 1 or Detective 27 to 50. You're not going to conserve an Amazing Spider-Man 23. It's just not worth the cost to increase that book. And there's plenty of opportunities to get one. There's lots of them out there, so you can get a nice grade copy of Amazing Spider-Man 31 if that's what you want. If you want a Detective 38, there's not a whole lot of those, so you might find one that's really beat to hell. And that's a book that maybe you would look at conservation. I don't know that that's something you can practice and get good at, though. I think that you have to have that chemistry knowledge and that scientific knowledge to be able to do that type of stuff. But yeah, if you ever get a chance, check out Jerry the Jitterbug. He's a great character to watch, but it's just awesome to see the stuff he does. And, like I said, I watch him and like, oh man, I wish I could do that, but I can't. And I know I can't. So, with everything, always know what your limits are. And, like I can't stress this enough. Don't start doing this process if you've never done it on a book that's worth, $500 or $1,000. You're not going to do the first time you do CPR. It shouldn't be an Amazing Spider-Man 1 or, something that has, high value like that. Do it on, some just random low grade silver age book. I mean, find one that's beat to hell. It's like a 2.5 and just practice cleaning it. You're not going to be able to press out or clean all those, but I guarantee the cover's dirty. It's going to have all kinds of grime and grit and grunge on it. So books like that, you can really test this. You're not hurting you're not hurting the value of the book. And like I said, Action are great books to get for that just because they're very abundant. I've never been to a place that didn't have a ton of Silver Age action comics. Even places that don't sell Silver Age books for that often usually have some old action comics or adventure comics. You know, that 60s DC, there's just a ton of it. Batman and Detective, not so much, but action for whatever reason, you know, I guess Batman's more popular than Superman. But you don't see a lot of Detective 12 centers that are cheap. Charlton's really good too. The thing with Charlton, though, they use a different, their paper's like I don't know, it's like thinner. It's more closer to newspaper stock than comic book stock. You know, a lot of the Golden Age books, that's kind of what they use as newspaper stock, but Charlton used that up into the 70s even. And it's different, and it cleans different, and all paper cleans a little bit differently. Techniques used on one book won't, like I would never do this technique on a book printed in the last 5 or 10 years because this won't work on that book. Eraser on a new book, all you're doing is do is rub off the gloss. If it's got dirt on this on a new book, it's probably printed on there. It's probably got, because it's just, you just don't get that. This paper had a gloss that, you know, the dirt could penetrate and get onto the book and the paper really easily. So it, you know, it's going to absorb and hold a lot of dirt. Newer stuff, you know, the paper making process and the gloss coats and stuff they use prevent a lot of that from happening. So I think the front's pretty much done. I sometimes with these here, sometimes I do clean them, sometimes I don't. The comics code, I kind of tend to stay away from that. Occasionally I'll get like right in here, but just the letters are too tight on it to really try and get in there and clean it without messing up. And these logos, they're so different. Every book has a different style logo. It's not too bad on like this DC one, but some books it's you just can't get in there. Like Charlton, for example, they have a much tighter wording with some red on it, and it's just hard to get in. You can't. I don't know of a tool you can use to get really in between these letters. I've not seen an eraser that small. Doesn't mean they don't make one. I just haven't seen one. So I just kind of do around the DC here, and then in the big areas between the words, I'm not messing around with inside Superman at all. So we're gonna dust it off with my kid's makeup brush. I think it's a toy makeup brush. I hope it's not like an expensive, fancy one, but I mean, she's only 8, so I doubt it's a fancy, expensive brush, but I don't know. I don't buy that stuff. Then we're going to go back, take our absorbing pad, and just give it a nice pull. Again, always pull towards the open edge of the book, and you're not going back and forth. I'm pulling, and then I'm lifting. Pull, and lift. So we're going to keep going through that. So that's pretty good for the front. Again, this thing's going to press out really nice. It's hard to really show all the little wrinkles and stress lines and stuff in there, but there's finger bends all over it. There's lots of creases and bends that will come out and make it pop. And for whatever reason, a lot of times when you get a nice flat, sharp book that's pressed really well, it pops more. The colors pop a little more. The back, again, same thing here. We're going to go over with the cotton round first. Usually, most books, especially from the 60s, the backs are usually dirtier than the front. This back actually isn't that bad. If you watch last week, the 2 books I cleaned the last 2 weeks, I mean, they were just, it looks like somebody took a dirt marker and just all over it because they were just bad. Like my hand hurt after cleaning the Penguin book. It was just so we're just going lightly. I'm putting a little pressure down, but again, you're not scrubbing, you're not digging into it. You don't. That's not what this technique's going to do. This is just getting off any light surface dirt. So we'll see if we got anything. So there's a little bit on there. I doubt you can see it. There's a little bit of dirt on there. This works best on, like, from what I've seen on Golden Age books, but always do it on every book. It'll get, you can feel things when you do that. You'll feel like if there's a little booger on there or some kind of foreign substance, you might feel a wrinkle or a dent that you didn't see. And just be careful, like everything. Like I can see water spots on the back too. So yeah, you can see right there where the water bled through. Um, so not much I can do with that. Like I said, sometimes with hop, you can lighten that effect, but this is like old water that really bled through and kind of did some work to it. So there's not it's not gonna it may dissipate a little bit, but it's not gonna go away. Rich, if you're still out there, I took a look at your Conan on the beginning of this video, and I think it's right on the edge, man. I'm still I think I'm probably gonna crack it because you're gonna crack it anyways when you go to Heroes Con. And I think since it's gonna get cracked anyways, you might as well make it as good as possible. I just don't know if you'll be able to get a bump. Um, I looked at it really good at the beginning of this, and I looked at obviously off camera before I started streaming a lot. I think it has 7.0 potential. It's really going to depend on your grader. I don't think it's going to get less than a 6.5 if it gets regraded. Um, and it'll present a little bit nicer. But if they crack it and press it, they're not going to give it any special care. They got their little machine that cracks it out and then they cut it out. I'll obviously be pretty careful when I take it out. And if nothing else, it's going to stay a 6.5, but look a lot better. So I think ultimately I'm probably going to go ahead and crack it open and give her a clean and a press. I don't know that it needs much cleaning, actually. It doesn't. I didn't see anywhere that was dirty on it. I think it just needs to be pressed out. There's a few wrinkles and stuff on the back that I don't even know how they got them, and I can't imagine someone didn't. It's a newer slab, so um, it was probably pressed in the last year or two. But if you look at on the back of it, I don't know if you noticed it. Like down here, it's just wrinkled to hell and back, man. It's that'll definitely come out. So even if it stays a 6.5, it's going to look a lot nicer. So it's going to be a better presenting 6.5. And again, I think it's an outside shot at a 7. It really depends. Hopefully, you get a lucky grader. It does suck because the staples are offset, so the top staple is right here, and the bottom staple is like on the top of the book. I don't know how they do that when they manufacture them. I would assume it staples it all at the same time, but it happens a lot. So that makes it a little bit harder to press, but it would be harder to press if it was like a 9.8 candidate or a 9.6 candidate. Being that it's a 6.5 and we're hoping for maybe like a 7.0 outside shot at a 7.5. But like the bottom of this, man, like I said, I don't know if you looked at it. It looks like somebody just, I don't know, like drug it across something, or it's got some weird wrinkles. Those will all come out though. So I'll give it like a good rub clean. It's definitely not bad. And then I'll shoot you a text after this. Talk about that if you want me to try and hop it or not, but we can talk about that offline. I think I might be able to get some of that dust shadow in the back gone, but like I said, we'll talk about it. I don't want to do it unless you're comfortable with it. So, but back to this amazing first appearance of the Creeper. So again, a lot of dirt on the back as always. Backs are always dirty. Yeah, you can see all that. That's all dirt on the tip of that. That's all dirt that came off the book. So a lot of dirt. It gets built up on these books for whatever reason, and like if you ever go into any store, like even if the counter's dirty, it's not like this dirty. So I don't know how they get this much dirt on them. I mean, the only thing I think is like in the 60s, I can imagine kids would take these out to like the garage or out with their buddies, go to their buddy's house and, but this ain't a book that was like folded up and put in someone's pocket. So I just don't know where all that dirt comes from. So yeah, this is coming off really nice. Again, I wish they would come up with a technique that I could easily clean dirt off of the ink, because man, that would be a game changer. But currently there's no technique that works great for that. Like I said, this works a little bit, and then There is the eraser bag that's like a drafting tool. It works some, but you are still erasing on top of the color. Like I think people think, oh, it's just a bag with some soft granules. Well, those little granules are rubber. They're rubber erasers inside there. So when you're rubbing that bag across there, and then you take your cotton round over it, you're just rubbing an eraser across the top of it. It's softer and it's more fine, but it's still eraser, you know. So you got to be real careful with that. You can easily get color fade and ink rubs and stuff when you do that. So if you're gonna use that thing, be careful. I have one. I very very rarely use it, just because I don't think it helps me enough to be beneficial, and I think the risk of the damages it can cause, because once the ink's gone, it's gone. There's no you can't get it back. I've talked about this in the past too on some of my when I clean the back of this. So when you get into the words and the lettering here, it's personal preference. I can go through and get every single little gap between words, but I can't get like the middle of an O or the middle of a D. So it's kind of like you have to look at it as, if I clean this area right here between these words, is it going to make this look dirtier and this look dirtier, or is it going to help? And a lot of times I'll clean in the bigger areas, because I think your eyes, when you look at this, a little bit of dirt in there doesn't look out of place because it's in with a bunch of black ink already. So your eyes don't really pop out. But if there's a dirt spot here, that will pop out more. So I usually do clean around the bigger words. Um, and again, it's not like it is still dirty in there. I just think your eyes kind of trick you into thinking it's not sometimes, because of all the black ink. It just kind of merges it all together. If you were to look, you can definitely see the dirt. Oh, I see a booger. Look at that right there. So I didn't feel that when I was cleaning it. You might not be able to see it. It's right on the word pack. Come on, camera. I'm going to get as close as I can. Well, it doesn't look like it's good. There we go. There you go. Now you can see it. Right there. There's like some yellow substance there. Could very easily be a booger from 1960. It could also be glue. It could be so many things. So I'm going to kind of just I got this tool. Again, I don't know what it's called. I think it's for sculpting, like clay and stuff. And I'm just going to lightly pull across it and see if it'll pop off easily without damaging the book. Again, on a book this grade, it's not going to, oh, there we go. It's not going to have a huge impact, but you don't want it there. So if you can get it off. So yeah, I got most of it off actually with that. So that's good. We'll give it a little rub again with the Absorbine. Tiny, tiny bit of color. The word right there is pack, P-A-C-K. A tiny little bit of color came off on the top of the K with it, but it's mostly gone now. So I'd rather have a little bit of the black ink missing and all of that goop gone than the goop there with all of the black, because the goop covered up the black anyways. And again, like everything on these, it's all subjective. Sometimes it's not worth it. You know, if it's going to damage the book to take something like that off more than what it's going to help to have it off, leave it there. You know, I think that's one flaw a lot of people that do clean comic books do, is that they try and do too much. I mean, look at the book. See what the potential is. You know, if it's a high grade, and we're looking at 9 O's and above, your thought process around what you're going to clean is completely different than if it's a 4.0 or a 5.0. It becomes more about, can I get a little bit of bump? Can I make it look better? Especially if it's a PC book, something you really want for your collection. If you're going to keep it for yourself, don't make it worse. Get as much as you can without going too far. That's where I think, like I said, with the bled, I think with the bled, people go too far because, I mean, you can make a book look fantastic, but it doesn't look natural. You know, it doesn't look like it should. I mean, I learned that on my own. I had an X-Men 10, first Kazar. It's an all white cover for the most part, with some art in the middle, with Kazar in the middle. And I that was right after that bled technique was kind of coming out, and I had done it on a few books, and I just overdid it. I mean, it looks awesome, but it doesn't look like it should. You know, it looks better than it probably did when it came out, because it's almost gotten to where it excuse me, it's not just bledded. It's not just got the blue light increase. It's almost bleached it a little bit, you know, the color. Um, and ever since that book, I've been more cautious with when I do it. And I've really gotten to the point where I just don't think it's worth it. I don't think the risk is worth the reward. You know, and there's some people that actually go page by page in the interior and whiten up the interior. And it's like, man, I don't know if that, you know, I know a lot of people are big on white pages. Like when they get a book, yeah, it's only a 9.4, but it's got white pages, and there's no white page copies. And if you got to do that to every single page to get white pages, I just don't want white pages. Like, you know, that's the big thing with the bled technique. You take a book like this color should match this color. And this color should be very similar to this. If this is bright white and this is this nice tan, they're going to know immediately that you've done something to the cover, because they're going to age together. You know, they're going to age the same. If I just bled the outside of this book and don't bled this, well, this is going to look much brighter and nicer than this, and they're going to know something. You know, it's very obvious and apparent that some kind of cleaning has been done that's not natural. You know, what we're doing here, this is all natural. I'm just lightly taking off dirt. I'm not hurting the book. I'm not altering the book. I'm not changing the book in any way. I'm just taking off the dirt. So when you start messing with the inside of the book, you know, it's just, you're opening up a lot of things that it's just not worth it. Unless you're talking like massive, massive increase in value. There's nothing I dread more than a purple label. Like I'll see books that I really want for my PC, and I'm like, hey, do you have this book? And they say, oh yeah, I got one. It's a purple label. I don't want to see it. I don't even want a purple label in my books. I don't like that. I don't know what someone's done. I hate when someone trims a book. Like, I'm okay if it's a small amount of color touch, because a lot of times a small amount of color touch is a kid taking a black marker on the edge of the book to color in a line or something. And you can get rid of that. You can actually scrape off that ink. You know, it's going to hurt the book's grade a little bit, but you can get it back to its original, what it's supposed to be. When it's trimmed, it's done. You know, it's trimmed forever. That book's never going to be what it was. And that's the one thing that I absolutely, like I said, you know, get a green label book if it's your only option for a book. But I will not buy a trimmed book. I just can't. And the reason, it's manipulative. Someone trimmed that book not to make it look better, but they wanted to try and sell it at a higher, you know, as a higher value. I don't think anyone trims comic books to make them look better. They trim them to try and, you know, take advantage of someone else that doesn't know. And you know, that's shady. You know, I don't roll like that. I'm not gonna overstate what I have or try and tell someone it's something it isn't. You know, I don't sell a lot of books. And when I do, I usually just consign them to my comic shop. I mean, I've talked about that before. I usually just buy more books with the stuff I sell, because, you know, I'm one of those addicts that it's, you know, it's like a drug, getting more comic books. But I'm not going to try and take advantage of someone by trimming a comic book. And again, in my mind, that's the only reason someone would trim it. So I think we're going to call this book pretty much done. So we're going to go through a little bit of the pressing technique. And this is the new technique that I've been using. And it just works so good. So I'm going to get a couple things and kind of show you how we do stacking layers on this. The biggest thing that's different on this is a full back, which is a backing board. You can get these from eGerber. They sell them on Amazon. You can get them a lot of different places. I like them for my books, so I already have a bunch of them because I actually use them in all my X-Men books have fullbacks. So the traditional technique when you're going to press a book like this is magazine backer in the center, and then under the cover, you would usually use like 65-pound or 40-pound paper. Same thing on the back. And then you would have a layer of SRP, silicone release paper on either side, and then another magazine board on either side. So this new technique that Captain Mike and his team came up with is very, very different when it comes to that whole process. And like I said, I've had great results. So the first thing they do differently is they use the full back in the middle. The one thing that's nice about the full back in the middle is it retains its shape really well. So you can reuse that full back lots of times. I sometimes I'll get 30 bucks on one full back. Eventually you'll start to see a little bit of denting, and that's when you pitch it. The next thing is really this new technique that they have versus the old one is instead of putting a piece of paper under the cover, you go in 2 pages. And for the first press, use 110-pound cardstock. And this was where I was just, it really threw me off. It didn't make any sense, but I was like, you know what, I'll give it a try. So that's 110-pound cardstock. And we do the same thing on the back. You go in from the cover. You count up 2 pages. And then another 110-pound cardstock sheet. And then the next part blew my mind. This is where I was just very terrified the first time. Printer paper, book, printer paper, and that's it. You put it in your press just like this. You heat up your press. On this book, I'll probably do 150 degrees. I heat it up to 150, close the press, and immediately shut it off. Which was, again, very different than what I was used to doing. Once it gets to 150, close the press, you shut it off, you let it sit for 15 minutes, and then you take it out. And then what you do after that is you change your stacking layers. You take the 110 out. That's 2 pages in the front, 2 pages in the back. And then you insert a 65-pound page white printer paper in between the cover and the first page and the cover and the last page. So you have full back in the middle, front cover, back cover. Each inside have a 65-pound page. And again, just the copy paper on top and bottom. This time you close the press, heat it up to 150 degrees or whatever your temperature is, depending on the age of your book, what era book you're going to do. Heat it up to 150 degrees, and then you turn it off. Once it hits 150 degrees, you don't do like a 15-minute or any of that. You wait till as soon as it gets to 150 degrees, turn it off. Let it sit for anywhere between 4 and 8 hours. And I think what's changed and what's different now is because this is the only thing I use metal plates. So this is with the metal plate process. If you don't use metal plates, I don't know that this process is good for you. But I think because there's so little between the cover and this, the cover actually gets a lot more heat and it works more like ironing clothes. You know, like if you think about when you iron clothes, you don't put something between the iron and your clothes. You put the heat right against it. All this paper does is protect it from getting burnt or like, too brittle, taking all the moisture out. It kind of just holds that moisture in so your paper doesn't get brittle. But I have had fantastic results with this. So again, I cannot stress enough. This technique to me is a game changer. It's so much better than the old process they did. I think the old process is good, And I think that it's still valid if you're doing that. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think if you get the new book and go by the technique in this, I mean, it's just I've had tons better results on old stuff, on new stuff. I've had less reversion. If you press a lot of books, a lot of times maybe I'll press out a crease right here, and then I'll take it out of the. I don't put them straight into a bag and a board. I let them kind of sit and just get some air. And a lot of times you'll see that wrinkle slowly start to reappear or come back. I've had no reversion at all with this new technique. Um, so again, check it out. Check out Captain Mike's Facebook group. They got a list of all the stuff there. Like I said, I got a link to the book below. If you're going to buy it, help me out, buy it from here. But even if you don't buy it from here, buy it. It's a fantastic book. So that's it for the showcase, guys. And I think we're going to wrap it up this show. I got a lot going on today. It's Mother's Day. So I got to take care of the mother of my children, which is helping her do yard work is how I'm going to take care of her. And again, if you ever have questions or things that you're curious about that I do on here, I'm on Instagram. Feel free to shoot me a message. I'm not a pro, but I've done a ton of comics. And I know kind of things that might happen or things you might see. And if you need help, reach out. The community is great. A lot of like I said, Captain Mike's got a Facebook group. Very helpful community. I would strongly recommend if you're going to clean books, if you're going to press books, get other people that can give you some tips and tricks. Maybe you're seeing something, you don't know how to get rid of it. Reach out. Reach out to me through Instagram. Reach out to Captain Mike's Facebook group. Captain Mike with a K, not with a C. There's lots of resources. Lean on the people that have the knowledge and experience. They may know exactly what you're dealing with and know exactly how to fix what your problem is. Maybe it's getting some ripples and you can't figure out why, which, there's a couple different things that cause ripples. Maybe it's getting cockling, which is like a tiny little wrinkles all across it. Maybe you're getting staple indentation when you're cleaning. Maybe your staples are sinking in. Tons of things can happen. When they happen, ask the community. My Instagram's Johnny's Comic Shop. I don't know why I call that. I don't really sell anything, but it's Johnny's Comic Shop on Instagram. And then, if you enjoyed this, leave a comment on this after it posts. Give me some likes, give me that thumbs up. If you're going to buy stuff for cleaning, it helps me if you buy through me. But again, the tools that I use are tools that I think are really good tools. So, I vetted them out and they work. It's exactly what I use in the stream. It's good stuff. Of all the stuff, though, man, that's the tool. If you're going to buy one tool to clean comic books with, buy this or something extremely similar to this. It's the best. The best. So thanks again for those of you who are here. Rich, I'll shoot you a text when I'm out of here about that book, or I might just give you a call, and then we'll talk about it. So I hope you guys have a great Mother's Day. We'll be here next Sunday doing some more cleaning. So we'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.